the Daily Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, Supreme Court fixes date for judgment in suits challenging Naira redesign policy. INEC distributes sensitive election materials to states and local governments ahead of Saturday's elections. Presidential candidates sign peace accord to commit themselves to peaceful conduct of polls. And on the foreign scene, tropical storm cyclone Freddy batters Madagascar, killing 4. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. The Supreme Court of Nigeria has fixed March 3rd for judgment in consolidated suits by 16 states challenging the implementation of the new currency policies introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Trustee Shafi'u Suleiman reports that the Plaintiffs' Counsel asked the Apex Court not to hear the Attorney General of the Federation for contempt of the court's previous order on the matter.
At resumed hearing on Wednesday, the Apex Court granted motion on joinder by additional states wanting to join as plaintiffs, bringing the total number to 16. Counsels to both parties make oral arguments for and against their positions before the court, with the Plaintiff Counsel alleging constitutional breach and unilateral decision by the President and asking the court to set aside his recent directive on the policy.
It is mandatory on the President to sit with the National Federal Executive Council for them to discuss the issue and agree on it. It is mandatory on the President, since this is an economic issue, to seek the approval of National Economic Council, which the Governor of Kano State is a member of. And the Governor of Kano State said that that issue was never tabled before the National Economic Council.
The President has powers, but that power must be exercised judicially and judiciously. Judicially, the President has exercised that power because he has given the directive to the CBN Governor. But judiciously, has the time frame been reasonable in the context of the provision of 2023? It is the contention of the plaintiffs that the time frame given is not reasonable enough, and to that extent, that policy is working hardship on the plaintiffs.
The important thing is that pending the third, when it will deliver its judgment, the interim order of the Supreme Court is still in place, and that is that the old 500 naira, 200 naira, and 1,000 naira notes are still legal tender. That is the order of the Supreme Court.
Responding to the plaintiff's argument on points of law, lead defense counsel Kanu Agabi SAN raised question of jurisdiction and overriding national interest for the implementation of the currency swap policy, pointing that the presidential directive on the matter is consistent with the earlier Supreme Court order.
The president will do nothing to undermine the powers and jurisdiction of this court. We are all working at trying to salvage a difficult situation. That's where we are. The Supreme Court is trying to do that. The President is trying to do that. It's one nation, one people. We are looking for solutions. Please, those who have this naira in their hands should submit them to the CBN or any banks designated for that purpose. Nobody will lose his money if you try to comply.
The Supreme Court, which rose twice to allow parties harmonize their process, fixed 3rd of March 2023 for judgment. Shafi'u Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Presidential candidates of political parties vying for the office of the president in Saturday's election have signed a peace accord to accept the outcome of election results devoid of any violence. All the candidates converged on the National or International Conference Center in Abuja on Wednesday for the landmark occasion. APC's Bola Tinubu, Labour Party's Peter Obi, PDP's Atiku Abubakar and NNPP's Rabiu Kwankwaso were the leading candidates that signed the accord. The first accord was signed in September last year, prior to the commencement of campaigns to commit the candidates to a peaceful campaign. The signing is the second at last to be signed by the candidates and is to enlist their commitment to the peaceful conduct of the 2023 presidential election. President Muhammadu Buhari, who will not be on the ballot this time, called on those saddled with the responsibility of conducting the election to allow the electorate to vote freely. The National Security Council, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, has announced that the presidential and National Assembly elections scheduled for Saturday, February 25th, 2023, will hold as planned. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, as well as the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, briefed State House reporters on the outcome of the maiden council meeting in 2023 at the council chambers of the State House, Abuja. Malami said the meeting was fully briefed by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, the 3 service chiefs, Inspector General of Police, and heads of other security agencies about their readiness to provide the necessary security backup for Saturday's poll. He said, flowing from this, the council gave a marching order that the February 25th election should hold as planned. According to him, the council's meeting was a follow-up to earlier meetings of the Federal Executive Council and the Council of State held to affirm the readiness of INEC, the police and security agencies to go ahead with the general elections in the country. Ahead of Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission has commenced the distribution of sensitive materials to states. In this report, we take you to some states where our reporters captured the distribution exercise.
In Ekiti State, the sensitive materials were being sorted at the time of this report for distribution at the CBN premises in Ado Ekiti, the state capital. The arrangements of the materials for the election are taking place under the watch of the State Resident Electoral Commissioner, party representatives, monitors and observers. Men of the Nigeria Police and other uniformed men were also within the premises to ensure maximum security. In Borno State, the Resident Electoral Commissioner Muhammad Ibrahim Magaji said the commission was prepared for the Saturday exercise as sensitive and non-sensitive materials for the elections had already arrived the state, while over 21,000 ad hoc staff are ready to conduct the voting of 2.5 million registered voters in the state. He added Marte, Kukawa, Guzamala and Abadam local government areas will be voting at super camps due to insecurity.
Of course, you have Guzamala. In Guzamala, the authority is Nganze. So elections are going to, the elections that we are going to conduct in such places, normally it is a super camp. All of them who can vote in that local government, they assemble in a place. When they assemble, we allocate their wards and PUs there and then.
In Zamfara State, the distribution exercise has commenced ahead of the Saturday 25th February presidential election and National Assembly elections. The distribution is being carried out at the Central Bank of Nigeria in Gusau, the state capital, amidst tight security. Representatives of various political parties, security agents and the media were handy to witness the exercise.
Our plan is that we will start with the local government that are very far away. That axis. Those are the ones that will start with. We will bring them out of this place. And then local government by local, and we'll isolate those who are the farthest. They will be, and then we'll call the vehicles. They will enter, and then they will now be loaded. And then they will hit the road fast.
Nigerians are hopeful that with logistics sorted ahead of the polls, the Commission will deliver an election that will reflect the wishes of the people.
Similarly, the Independent National Electoral Commission has begun the distribution of electoral materials to the 20 local government areas in Lagos State ahead of the presidential and National Assembly elections. Trust TV Lagos brings us details in this report.
Towards the upcoming 2023 general elections in the country, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in Lagos started the distribution of sensitive election materials to the 20 local government areas in the state. Speaking to journalists at the Central Bank of Nigeria office, Lagos, where the materials were kept, State Resident Electoral Commissioner Olusegun Agbaje said all political parties were invited for the distributions, which showed that Lagos State had enough materials for the election and is ready for the poll.
Symbolic exercise this morning is to show Nigerians, particularly Lagos residents, that INEC is ready for this election. Come Saturday, 25th of this month, we are very much ready. Non-sensitive materials are already at the local government level. Now the sensitive materials are going. By the time they get there, all the job will now be left to the electoral officers at the local government level.
Also, the Commissioner of Police in charge of Lagos Command, CP Idowu Owunwa, said that the exercise was one of the police electoral mandates to provide security for the citizens, electoral materials in transit or office, INEC officials and observers. Owunwa said that as at now, all things were working according to plans and there were no security challenges.
What we are doing today is to join the INEC team to provide adequate security. And if I say adequate, I emphasize it. Adequate security, armed security, that we follow all the trucks to each and all of the local governments. And when they arrive, there's under complements of local police that will upscale their security at that point, and they will remain there to ensure that these sensitive materials remain secured until they are eventually distributed for the election proper.
At least 10 political parties' agents were present at the distribution ceremony. The parties include Action Alliance, Action Democratic Party, African Action Congress, All Progressive Congress, and All Allied People's Movement. Others are Labour Party, National Rescue Movement, New Nigerian People's Party, People's Democratic Party, and Young Progressive Party.
And moving on, some Kano residents say naira scarcity may not allow them exercise their right to vote on Saturday as other Nigerians vote in presidential and National Assembly elections. However, an APC supporter said the policy has no party blessings, believing that despite the current hardship occasioned by the currency redesign, Nigerians will come out to vote. The report.
Within the last few weeks, Nigerians have been struggling with the issue of financial difficulties, a situation some believe may prevent them from going to the polls.
Why do you think I should go and vote? When many people are struggling, we don't have cash. With our money in the bank, we cannot withdraw it. We cannot use it. There is no money to buy food. Like you see me now, I never eat since morning. So how do I go to the polls and say that I want to vote? Who will I vote for? Most of the people who are voting are the people affected by this problem. So tell me, if someone did not eat, how do you expect him? Where did he get the energy to go and vote? So for me, I'm not going to any polls.
But not according to this Northern Nigeria's APC support group, whose members argued that APC as a party is not responsible for the present situation.
No, it's not APC, it's a government policy. It's not an APC policy. APC policy is clearly spelled out from day one. It's not part of the APC policy. These are government. Once now we are looking for government. When we win the election, all other political parties are part of the governance. So it's all about governance now. It's not about only APC. No, every party is involved in this, and everybody is feeling it. Does it mean, are you telling me, is it only APC members are not feeling it, other people are feeling it? No. I think everybody is feeling it. So you can testify to that. So it's a government policy. There are governments sometimes take good policies, sometimes takes bad policies. Now that's why if you see APC governors, they are on their toes to right the wrongs if there is wrong.
According to these people, for Nigerians to be free of any developmental challenge, they will need to ensure that good leaders are voted into power. And for them, APC has a combination of progressive leaders. APC and a group like this may have a lot of lapses to cover within the next 3 days. Idris Jubrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress says the ruling party is going into the elections, which is just some days away, as a united entity which is working to secure victory for its candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Senator Adamu, who interacted with senior editors in Abuja on Wednesday evening, said despite the number of state governors in court challenging the federal government's currency redesign policy, they are all in support of the party going into elections, as they could not work against themselves. The APC national chairman, however, admitted that despite the soundness of the policy, it may have been ill-timed, while the implementation of the policy was not up to par. Nevertheless, Senator Adamu believes that there is no cabal in the presidential villa working against the party, while he goes ahead to project that the party's flag bearer will deliver on the mandates given to him by Nigerians if he's elected president, and will not rule by proxy.
I don't see any governor working against the party in the forthcoming election. Quite a number of these governors got carried away by the pressure from the citizenry towards the people that they govern. And there's nothing wrong in a leader identifying himself with the problem of his people. I see that only in that light. I don't think it's aimed at showing discontent with the party. The party is not responsible for, excuse me, monetary policies of the country. We have the executive, we have the legislature, and the judiciary. The party is a vehicle through which you ride to power, to a position of authority.
Ahead of the February 25th presidential election, former President Goodluck Jonathan has urged politicians not to seek power at all costs, but to eschew hatred and violence and embrace true sportsmanship during and after the polls. In the statement signed by the ex-president's special advisor, Ikechukwu Eze, Jonathan also counseled youths not to be used as agents of violence and destruction in the February 25th and March 11 polls, but to be key partners in nation building. 18 presidential candidates are jostling for Aso Rock's top job in Saturday's election. Political violence has been recorded at the rallies of some of the leading parties, fueling concerns about the safety of voters in the polls. Known for his Kwankwasia movement with red cap wearing supporters, New Nigerian People's Party's presidential candidate Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is deploying his political arsenals for Saturday's presidential election. Idris Jibril profiles the man.
Currently the national leader and presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is seen by many as a charismatic political populist who enjoys widespread support across northern Nigeria and beyond.
At all points that is transpassed, he has been an important personality. Don't start even discussing about the time he was elected as a member of the House of Representatives, where he became the deputy speaker, which you know is a very important position. And up to the time he came back and contested under DPN, which election was annulled before it even started. And even at that point, had even there was an election, he won that election in the DPN. And he went back and joined PDP, won the primary election, won the secondary election, and so on and so forth. The rest is history.
Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is a very honest, diligent, focused, and reliable leader. He's an honest personality, very patriotic, very much concerned about what is going on within his community and at this stage within his country.
We thank Almighty God for sparing our lives and, of course, giving us good health over the years to continue the struggle of making Nigeria a better place for all of us.
But not to his critics, who sees Kwankwaso as an opportunist whose ambition is always to be the hitman and the only hitman wherever he goes.
Many people, they are saying that Kwankwaso is very strong. But what I know, Kwankwaso is very smart. He knows what he's doing. What he want to be a presidential candidate. And he's already fulfilled his promise. He is a presidential candidate under NNPP. Even NNPP, about 18 or 19 states, they don't have gubernatorial candidate. How do you think that you agree that he is contesting for election in that matter?
Rabiu Kwankwaso's political popularity and influence began sometimes in 1999, when he was first elected governor of Kano State under the People's Democratic Party, PDP. After he lost his re-election to Ibrahim Shekarau in 2003, he was appointed the first Minister of Defense of the Fourth Republic under President Olusegun Obasanjo. With no prior military background, Kwankwaso heads the Defense Ministry from 2003 to 2007, a position some say exposes Kwankwaso toward understanding global politics.
He was a presidential advisor and ambassador to Darfur and Somalia. Now, when you say Darfur and Somalia, certainly you are talking about a crisis that was then happening in Somalia, which is still going on, and the one in Darfur. And he was selected after being the defense minister to advise the president, Olusegun Obasanjo, then on issues relating to Darfur and Somali crisis.
In 2011, Rabiu Kwankwaso returned to the local politics of Kano and was again re-elected governor of the state under the same People's Democratic Party. As governor, Kwankwaso is believed to be responsible for many developmental projects in Kano State. But in 2014, Rabiu Kwankwaso left the People's Democratic Party to join the All Progressive Congress, APC. He contested the party's presidential primaries nomination but lost to Muhammadu Buhari. The latter became Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, representing Kano Central Senatorial Districts under the same All Progressive Congress. In 2018, Kwankwaso left APC to return to the People's Democratic Party, PDP. In 2022, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso found the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, under which he hopes to become the nation's president.
Peter Obi has taken Nigeria by storm and tickled the imagination of many Nigerians who are strongly advocating for him to be president of Nigeria. But he is one out of 18 presidential hopefuls and is one of the 4 front runners jostling for Nigeria's top seat. Kehinde Amodu in this report profiles Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party.
61-year-old Peter Gregory Obi is a Nigerian businessman and politician who served as governor of Anambra State from March to November 2004, February to May 2007, and June 2007 to March 2014. After leaving office in 2014, Obi decamped to the People's Democratic Party. In 2019, he was selected as PDP vice presidential nominee in the presidential election, running alongside Atiku Abubakar. But the ticket lost to the incumbent president, Muhammadu Buhari, and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. In May 2022, he became the Labour Party nominee for president of Nigeria in the 2023 presidential election, after defecting from the People's Democratic Party. Obi's presidential campaign has been described as populist and has been noted for its support among many young Nigerians, who have been nicknamed Obedients. Obi's populism is fueled by support from 2 sets of people, principal actors during the EndSARS protests in October 2020, who see the Obi candidacy as the movement to change the status quo and pay back perceived establishment figures for alleged misrule in Nigeria. The other set of supporters are those that are bent on the Southeast Presidency project, who insist that it is a time for the region to produce Nigeria's next leader. A third set of people working behind the scenes are determined to deliver a candidate who they believe can change the fortunes of the country, especially in the midst of the current hardship.
That passed through where we passed through. I was in the UK when India was rationing food, when Bangladesh was doing a similar thing, when there's problems in Brazil, there's separatists, there's agitations, when it's happening in Mexico and everything. All those countries have changed. I visited them and I know what is happening in them. They have changed. What has changed is leadership. If you have a leadership that has character, that is competent, that have capacity, that have commitment, that leadership should be able to identify the problems, articulate with their team what to do to solve it.
Along the way, despite a shaky start, his campaign has garnered formidable traction. As is expected, Obi's emergence as one of the forerunners in the 2023 general elections has attracted a lot of flack to him. His tendency to speak on Nigeria's issues critically and often with questionable statistics has caused his critics to point out that he does not understand the dynamics of governance.
Anywhere in the north, people buy bread cheaper. Out of the 62 years of Nigerian independence, we have gotten military and civilian rules from the north, 47 years. Yet, the poorest states in Nigeria in the north, the poorest people are there. The poorest out of school children, the highest number of are there. All those things is what I want to change.
But his records when he was Anambra State governor cannot be pushed aside. During his time as governor, development partners such as the UNDP, UNICEF, the World Bank, and the DFID, the European Union, consistently adjured Anambra as one of the best states in development partnership and commitment to reforms for good governance.
I was not owing any supplier who had delivered his supply. Go and verify. I was not owing any civil servant salary. I was not owing any gratuity or any pension. And I am number one in MDG, which is measure of development, Millennium Development Goals. I started in 2008, 2007, 2008. By the time it was concluded in 2015, I was number one. You can go and ask Federal Government of Nigeria, UNDP, which is United Nations Office, who is number one. It was P2B.
The state's groundbreaking return of schools to their original owners on the 1st of January 2009 and subsequent partnership with agencies in education saw the state move from the 24th position out of 36 states to number one in the National Examination Council and West African Examination Council examinations for 3 consecutive years. At the brink of the general elections where Nigerians will exercise their franchise to elect a president, social media attacks on scientific opinion polls, religious sentiments, and ethnic bigotry will not determine the outcome of the election. However, win or lose, Peter Obi has in the last few months taken the country by storm, and it remains to be seen if he has built an appeal which will be able to rally across the different divides in Nigeria. Kehinde Amudu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, intervention in the fight against insecurity. Do stay.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Kai, my people, reason this thing now. When PDP day, our country be safe. Naira strong, economy they grow. Fuel, 7 naira, rice, 8,000. Our life in better, oh. When change people come, no work, no food, economy for gutter. Naija borrow, bad riches foot down. Japa left and right, Sapa up and down. No need to gamble, say joy. PDP don't come, say joy. We cover Naija, say joy. We don't tire to suffer, say joy. Experience mind, say joy. We don't want experiment, say joy. Get them right, say joy. This time our life, oh, say joy. We cover Nigeria, say joy. Article that demand, oh, say joy.
the safe choice to recover Nigeria.
PDP! Power to the people!
Now, PDP Presidential Campaign Council sponsored this message.
At last, the elections are here. Let's turn out en masse on election day and vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as President of Nigeria for a renewed hope and a better Nigeria. Vote APC, the party that shows a broom.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. Here's a recap of our major stories. We told you that Supreme Court fixes date for judgment in suits challenging Naira redesign policy. We also heard that INEC distributes sensitive electoral materials to state and local governments ahead of Saturday elections. Moving to other stories, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has deployed its officers to 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory to monitor the polls on Saturday. The anti-graft agency said the deployment is part of efforts to ensure the integrity of the February 25th, 2023 presidential and National Assembly elections. EFCC Chairman Abdulrashid Bawa charged the operatives to be conscious of the interests of the nation and exhibit a high sense of professionalism in the discharge of their duties. Bawa said being on a national assignment, he expects them to act in line with the Commission's values of professionalism, integrity, and courage. The EFCC also released incidents reports hotlines for the 36 states and Abuja, urging citizens to report vote buying, selling, or other evidence of financial malpractices. An Assistant Inspector General of Police, Yahaya Abubakar, has been deployed to monitor security situation and conduct of officers in Gombe and Bauchi states for peaceful conduct of the Saturday presidential and National Assembly elections. Briefing officers and men of the force at police headquarters in Gombe State, Abubakar warned the personnel to be professional and avoid mingling with politicians, especially during the elections.
So your conduct, translates into so many other things. That's why we are enjoined to be very professional in your conduct. Then when it comes to professionalism, a police officer on election duty must be courteous, must be polite, must be professional, but he must be firm in his or her actions and attitude and personal appearance.
The officers have been there, sir, have been trying their best. And I encourage and commend them. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming out to join me at a very short notice to receive our own AIG.
The Rivers State Police Command says it has commenced investigation into the explosion that occurred at a Port Harcourt-based radio station, Wish 99.5 FM. Suspected arsonist on Tuesday night threw an explosive device into the generator house and transformer area of the station. The station is owned by Chinyere Igwe, a member of House of Representatives and a strong supporter of Atiku Abubakar in the state. Rivers State Police Command Public Relations Officer Grace Iringe Koko, in a press statement issued in Port Harcourt on Wednesday, said operatives of the Explosive Ordnance Department of the State Police Command have been deployed to the scene for swift and detailed investigation with a view to ascertaining the veracity of the information and to unravel what exactly caused the explosion. Iringe Koko assured that if the incident was indeed orchestrated by anyone or group, the culprits will be hunted down and made to face the full wrath of the law. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has granted an order of interim forfeiture of 14 properties in Lagos, Abuja, and the United Arab Emirates linked to the Kogi state government. Justice Nicholas Owebo granted the order following an ex parte motion filed by EFCC counsel Rotimi Oyedepo San. Oyedepo informed the judge that the properties, including the one in the world's tallest building, Burj Khalifa in Dubai, UAE, were reasonably suspected to have been derived from unlawful activity. Justice Owebo, after hearing the EFCC lawyer, ordered the EFCC to confiscate the sum of 400 million naira, also linked to the state and recovered from one Aminu Falala and the listed properties. The matter has been adjourned till March 14 for further hearing. But in a swift reaction, Kogi State Commissioner for Information and Communication, Kingsley Fangwo, said the Kogi state government has no property that can be forfeited to the federal government under any guise, describing it as a campaign of calumny taken too far. Moving on, President Muhammadu Buhari has launched over 300 vehicles, state-of-the-art security equipment and gadgets procured by the Coalition Against COVID-19 to aid the fight against insecurity. President Buhari launched the equipment on Wednesday before the commencement of the National Security Council meeting ahead of Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections. The president said he is proud to lead the country at this time of its existence because of the enormous contributions of the private sector to fight societal ills. Kehinde Amodu reports.
The Coalition Against COVID-19 is a private sector-led organization in Nigeria established to assist the government in combating the coronavirus disease. It was launched on March 26, 2020, following an announcement by the governor of the central bank, Godwin Emefiele. But after successfully delivering on its mandate by mobilizing over 82 billion naira for medical supplies, construction of isolation centers, feeding of over 10 million people, risk communication and advocacy, the coalition is going a step further. There is 12 billion naira worth of security equipment being launched at this event by President Buhari.
I am exceedingly honored to be the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. At this time, I am gratified to have the honor of leading a country whose private sector willingly galvanizes itself to raise funds to enthusiastically support the government in resolving social ills. I am proud to say that there is nowhere in the entire world except in Nigeria where the private sector has voluntarily come together to assist the government efforts.
Despite being the final intervention by COVID to the government and the people of Nigeria, there is no doubt that it is a huge commitment that has been made and has made a huge impact on Nigerians in the last 2 years.
This donation marks the end of the COVID initiative as we wind down what has been deemed as example of patriotism, solidarity, and efficiency in terms of partnership between the public and private sectors. This is a lesson in the power of collaboration for a worthy cause.
The coalition COVID is a good example of what Nigeria must become: a nation of patriotic solidarity of individuals and cooperation and effective collaboration of the public and private sectors.
The words of President Buhari aptly captures the value of this intervention. He notes that such a patriotic gesture is proof that nationalistic determination is still alive in Nigeria in the face of enormous challenges pervading the world and the country. From State House Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
Thank you, Kehinde, for that report. Now moving on, the Independent National Electoral Commission has begun the distribution of sensitive materials across the 13 local government areas of Nasarawa State ahead of the February 25th presidential and National Assembly elections. Addressing journalists shortly after inspecting the materials at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Lafia, INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner in the state, Uthman Ajidagba, said the items were adequate and sorted out in accordance with the local government areas of the state. Umar Mohammed sent in this report as presented from our studio.
Ajidagba maintained that the materials, which comprise ballot papers, result sheets, and bimodal voter accreditation system (BVAS), had been customized according to each of the 3,245 polling units across the state.
This election, all hands have been on deck, and the government is not leaving any stone unturned to ensure that the election comes and goes peacefully. It is our hope and prayer that it will come and go peacefully. As election managers, INEC, I want to assure you again that the extension assure the whole world that election will go.
In respect of the election coming, by the grace of God, inshallah, coming Saturday, the security has been seriously put in place to ensure that the election is peaceful and successful. On our part, the security, we have ensured that all the polling units are manned by security personnel.
The Resident Electoral Commissioner explained that the sensitive materials would be delivered to INEC local government offices, where they would be conveyed to various registration areas preparatory to the Saturday poll. Security operatives, officials of various political parties, including some of the candidates taking part in the general elections, were at hand to witness the distribution of sensitive materials in the state.
As the 2023 general elections approach, the need to draw attention to and address the dangers inherent to drug abuse and electoral violence, especially among the youth population in communities, has been emphasized. This has become imperative as stakeholders believe that substance abuse by youths, if not checked, has the potential to mar the successful conduct of elections and ruin the chances of achieving a drug demand reduction and drug-free polls. The report.
Despite sustained campaigns for youth participation in the electoral process in the country, there are worries that the consumption of illicit drugs may affect youth involvement in the 2023 general election. The high percentage of young people exposed to different kinds of banned substances in the country is a threat to their involvement in the political space. Hence, the need to create awareness around its dangers.
If you want to sell violence, if you want to sell crime, subconsciously, the first place that will come to your mind is the ghetto, right? These are the where you can get people that can buy your products, right? These are where at least psychologically they tell themselves they cannot be more than this, right? So they are there already, they're in the slum already. So it's very easy. You want people to stay ballot box for you. You will not go to the university, not go to the classroom. You go to the bush, you go to the lungus where they smoke. Because you don't need to talk much before people that will understand you. So now we need to first talk them out of that space, and then start. It doesn't just end by saying, oh, don't do drugs. it starts by saying don't do drugs, and then by the time they are seeing why they should not do drugs, now they are reasoning with us.
Community members who lament the use of the youth who are under the influence of drugs for criminal activities and electoral violence, however, believe that with the right interventions prior to the elections, cases of violence will be drastically reduced.
Although there is some elders that used to, when time of election come like this, they used to talk to boys. So no matter those that are taking drugs, they will talk to them, they will reduce. But the major effect of this thing in the election, you see that it is these boys that are taking drugs. If these elders did not talk to them, they are the one that those politicians are going to incite to snatch balls, to scatter election for them. Anyway, that those politicians think that they are not going to win, they will just find drugs or drinks and give those harder drugs they give to those boys. They will now make sure that they just go and disrupt the election that is going there.
We have a committee that we are set up into that. And inside even some of their groups there, we have their own leaders that they are among the committee, that they know something that we want to happen. They will alert us, say, see what you want to go on. Because
stakeholders are positive that with sensitization campaigns around the dangers of drug abuse on elections, the chances of having a free, fair and credible polls will be increased. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The need to ensure peaceful polls in Taraba State was the focus of a peace meeting between INEC in Taraba and members of the State Peace Committee in Jalingo. The Peace Committee members include traditional and religious leaders, governorship candidates and heads of security agencies. Chairman of the Taraba State Peace Committee, Talla Sunday Ngarka, said the meeting was to dialogue with stakeholders to ensure that elections in the state are devoid of rancor and acrimony. The representative of Chairman, National Peace Committee, Emmanuel Kati, the Taraba INEC representative, Umar Gajiram, the chairperson, National Council of Women Society, Daniel Punarimam, and some traditional rulers all harped on the need to ensure peaceful elections in the state and made a commitment to the effect.
Near the 2023 general elections, the need for a greater synergy and collaboration with the critical stakeholders in the electoral process becomes more imperative. This is to say that the statutory responsibility of the Commission to conduct elections, to elect credible leaders, to steer the ship of leadership of the country cannot be done by INEC alone. This explains why relevant stakeholders have pivotal roles to play in the execution of the electoral process.
God had sent among those, among the universe at that particular time to coordinate, to maintain peace. And that was all other institutions were built upon. So he reminds us of that. He says, peace is wealth.
We are reminded that peace itself is a prerequisite for development, and that peace itself is something everyone needs. Even the election we're talking about cannot be successful without peace.
Why we're here is so that we should have peace. There is no peace, there will be a problem. The security agents, that's the police and other security agents, we are ready. We are ready to protect life and property. Peace is key. Peace is everything. If you don't have peace within, you can't give anybody. So it is key. I am here because I am a mother, I am a woman, and we are the one at the receiving end, always. When there is no peace in the family, the woman will not be happy.
This time we have been counted amongst the 15 states of Nigeria, where peace accords are being signed. On that, I welcome all of you seated here today to our own special day. I say welcome.
You're still watching News on Trust TV. More stories shortly.
That's great. It's good to see you.
Welcome back. Let's now join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
Nigeria's currency circulation fell to a record low of 1.39 trillion naira in January 2023, representing the lowest level since December 2015. According to data obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the total amount mopped up in January 2023 alone is 1.6 trillion naira. The decline followed the CBN's aggressive monetary policy to phase out old currency notes and introduce limited new notes into the economy. Specifically, currency circulation reduced by 54% in January 2023 compared to 3.01 trillion naira recorded the previous month. In the same vein, the currency outside the vaults of the banks was reduced by a whopping 69.3% to 788.92 billion naira from 2.56 trillion naira recorded in December 2022. Nigerians spent $294.55 million on foreign health services between January and September 2022, according to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria. This translates to 135.8 billion naira on an assumed exchange rate of 461 naira to the dollar. The CBN report showed that during the period under review, foreign health expenses by Nigerians decreased by 52% compared to $612.98 million spent during the same period of 2021. Nigerians' foreign health expenditure has been on a rapid decline since the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, which saw the death of thousands of people globally, especially in other climes. Nigerians' foreign health spending declined from $2.56 trillion recorded in 2019 to $1 billion in 2020 and has maintained a downward trajectory since then. And finally, in stocks, the Nigerian exchange on Wednesday closed positive amidst buy interest and sell-offs. This came as bulls dominated proceedings driving up the broad market. The all-share index ASI appreciated by 0.23% to close at 54,315.53 points. In the same vein, market capitalization grew by 69 billion naira to close at 29.588 trillion naira, while the year-to-date returns settled at 5.27%. Market break closed positive as MRS led 18 gainers and 11 losers, topped by McNichols. On aggregate, 129.9 million units of shares valued at 392 billion naira were traded in 2,678 deals. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
Now let's move on to the foreign scene. A 27-year-old man drowned in sea waters just before Cyclone Freddy made landfall on the Indian Ocean island on Tuesday evening, packing winds of around 130 kilometers per hour. Around 16,600 people were affected and more than 6,750 homes damaged, the National Risk Management Office said on Wednesday morning, adding that the toll had risen to 4. France's weather service, Meteo France, said Freddy weakened as it began its path across the island and now had an average wind speed of 55 kilometers per hour, gusting to 75 kilometers per hour. The storm brought less rain than feared, but still ripped roofs off buildings and flattened rice fields and fruit trees. It made landfall north of Mananjari, a coastal town of 25,000 people that remains devastated by last year's cyclone Batsirai, which killed more than 130 people across Madagascar. Flying Eagles of Nigeria restored their World Cup ambition with an emphatic 1-0 win over host nation Egypt. The Flying Eagles' victory against much-determined Egyptians didn't come easy, as it took 70 minutes for Nigeria to score via a header through Solomon Agbalaka. The tension-soaked match was a win for both countries. However, it was Nigeria that got the bragging rights at the end of the day. Senegal's victory against Mozambique automatically takes them to the top of the table, while Nigeria is placed second. The Flying Eagles will play Mozambique in the last group game, and a win will brighten their World Cup aspiration. Nigeria lost 1-0 against Senegal in the opening day fixture. And with this, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.